Hello everyone, welcome back to part 2 of my tutorial on how I draw. Today we're going to be going over the line art and the coloring to hopefully finish this all up today, not just for 2 parts. So what I'm going to be using today is I usually use black for the line art. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a new layer, and I usually use this one right here, line art 2. I'm going to go down and get rid of this so you guys will be able to see everything with the stuff that I use. And I use the pencil tool, in case you guys don't know what I usually use. So it's just going to be a normal brush size, density 100, simple circle, sharpness, all that stuff. All that you see here. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. I will skip ahead to where I have the line art in, and you guys should be able to do that from there. I usually use this for the sharp edges, but for longer sketches like this or that, I'll usually use like maybe a 6 or a 7. So I will get back to you when I finish it. Alright, see you then. Alrighty guys, I am back, and as you can see, I have most of the line art in. There's just one thing that I usually go over when I do the markings, and so for right now, I will just show you how I usually do that. And what I usually do is, you can go ahead and turn this base markings off back here, but there is one thing I want to discuss real quickly. So as you can see, I don't follow the entire sketch. Sometimes it is better to not follow it precisely. So that's why you see that it's all misshapen and stuff, and that's basically just how it turns out sometimes. So what we're going to be doing right now is I'll just go ahead and kind of patch that up a little bit. There we go. So you see I have everything in that I possibly need except for the markings. The marking's going to be right here. There are 2 ways that I usually do this, and that usually is I will, for one, let's go ahead and show it to you. I'll go ahead, sometimes I'll take like a smaller pen tool and I'll just kind of go over and do that. Other times, I will just go ahead and color the whole thing in and just do the markings like on a separate layer without the line art. I'll just like color it in and stuff with like a better properly used thing. So for right now, we're going to go ahead and work on the whole coloring in, because I'm going to be doing the second option. Usually what I do is I'll click the outside area, I'll come in and make sure I got everything selected that I want. And I will select the pen tool and I will resize it for a better shape. And what I'm doing is I'm just going to come in and fill in these markings here, so it's not missing anything. And sometimes you will miss stuff, don't worry, you can easily go back to fix it. So you're just going to go ahead and do this the entire way around, and I will meet you right after I do that. Okay, I am back. I have filled everything in, and so once I usually do this, sometimes I'll go back just to double check. I don't always do this, because sometimes I don't have to. But with really sharp edges like this and that usually meets it. So what I tend to do is, after I've got this whole area selected, you go up to Selection, Invert Selection. And what that'll do is that'll place the whole thing around. And I don't always go and double check to see if everything is amiss, but sometimes it does help in the long run when you discover something's off. So once you have all that in, you go ahead and find your reference. And of course, I gotta search Asher because for some reason this is in like the weirdest location and I just can't find it, the reference. Sometimes I lose it, and I'm still working on finding it, guys, don't worry. So you get the base color. See, sometimes it's good to have this on the sides, and it's good to have like, here, I'm not really gonna do anything. It's good to have like the colors in circles or in whatever shape on the side after it's all been colored in, so people will be able to correctly do that. So you just pick the color, you come back, I would change the brush size up, and you want to make sure it's not on this layer, because if you were on this layer, it'll just really crap on you and it looks nasty. So you always make a separate layer and do it on the layer below. Let's go ahead and just resize that up. So you got that in. And, excuse me. So once you get the whole color in, you just kind of come back and just repeat the process. So Asher is kind of interesting. He's got like a multiple layer system that I usually do for him. Here's the dark color, the light color, and the markings. But it kind of creates that gray effect look, but it also has some white on him. And I actually have the original adopt somewhere, but I'll have to pull it out. And he's just got like German Shepherd kind of thing going on. So you get that in, and I just got to make sure that I get everything right, because there are just some characters I can't commit to memory. Actually, don't like that's too much. And it takes me a while. Like some of my characters, like I could do the line art without even having to look for the markings. Like I just know. And then there are some characters like hang on. There are some characters that I have like Domino. He is just, every time I try to draw him, he just craps on me, and I can't do it. See, see, this character, there are some things that you can tell between characters. Like, I need to redo some of these. Hang on. We'll find the nice ones. Yeah, like this one, you know, you know how to do it. It doesn't have to be exact the same time, but you know that there's a basis to do with the white lines. It just takes a while. Like, you know the base look that it's supposed to look like. And then there's Domino, where, you know, everything has to be pretty much precise. So that's just kind of the difference between some characters and some others. Like, if you have a scar marking, sometimes you have to look back at your characters just to figure it out. But Asher's, he's pretty good. It's pretty easy to remember. So once you get that in, I usually go to a second layer so it doesn't mix in too much. And you kind of come in there. You want the very, some characters, like, you'll want it to be very plain to see, and then you kind of have it kind of come off in a lighter tone. He's got some on his face that you kind of want to look out for. I don't really like that. And sometimes it does help to have a bigger, like, area to color in, like the sizes and stuff. And sometimes it doesn't. It just really depends on what you're doing. Okay, so I've got Asher's color in pretty much for that. And then I'll kind of come in and do the other details and stuff. Like, you want it to be much smaller. You don't want to go out too much or anything. And it's okay if you kind of come out of the line. I mean, you're going to go back anyway to kind of clean it up a little bit. Go. Now, I tend to do this after I get like the full color in, sometimes on the outside, because sometimes it manages to get past the line art and it's kind of annoying. But okay, so once you got that in, and sometimes there's like a shear drop. Sometimes I'll kind of come in when hang on, where is it? I'll kind of come in and kind of just do something about this so it looks more natural. But other than that, I'll kind of tend to stay away from it, because Paint Tool Side 2.0 kind of screwed with the blur tool. Like, it put it as a filter, and you can't really use it as like a brush anymore. So you basically just come in, color everything in that you have. And sometimes I'll do things on the same layer, like certain aspects of the character, like if he's wearing something, or multiple somethings that are just kind of a singular color in a certain area, I'll kind of use it on the same layer. And of course Asher has just got Those cute little whatever they are. And Asher's like original look was actually a little bit different. It was the same color base, but some of these things were added. And when I do adopts like that, I will allow leeway. Like if you want to change the hairstyle, or if you want to give him like minor changes, I will allow that because it's your character and stuff. But yeah. So, and like, you know, I'll allow you to, I mean, of course you can give him accessories. I mean, come on, it's not going to change like his overall base appearance, unless you're going to add like, I mean, scars, you know, you can add that when I do my characters and stuff. So there you go, you got that in. And sometimes I'll actually, with my characters, I'll have like a darker color to kind of color in this one marking, with one area, but there are kind of strict codes to that, so. And that's not something I always mess with, but yeah, and sometimes when I have this, I'll fill it in on the line layer. Okay, why are you coming out red? What did I do to you? Hang on, there we go. And I will kind of come in every now and then and make changes, like there's just little outcropping right here I don't want, so. Alrighty, so I'm going to come back here, and we are going to come back and, I forgot this one spot in his ears. Poor Asher, I didn't forget you completely, I'm sorry. Where it's just a little bit darker than the rest of the area. And you'll kind of come out and just get rid of this right here. And here's another example of me using the same layer for certain things. So you just kind of color that in. And I find that if you don't deselect and reselect everything to be on a certain part, like if you have the whole thing selected and then you just deselect to select that, I usually don't mess with it because, you know, it's just a very specific thing that doesn't take up that much space, and it won't take you that long just to color it in and stuff. I mean, at the most, maybe like 30 seconds, and it's not really making a difference depending on how fast you do it. Oh god, my knee's killing me right now, guys. I just can't get rid of it. It's like 7 months now, and it's still kicking the crap out of me. And I gotta go to work on Tuesday. That's wonderful. Okay, so you're gonna kind of come back and look everything over. And since it's only his head, it's just, whoops, sorry Asher, I didn't mean to do that. It's only his head area, so you're really only worrying about certain things. And of course Asher is just the cutest little thing. It's really like a close-up. Yeah, so once you really get that in, I'm just looking for anything that I might have made a mistake on at this point. And I'll come back in, get the color for his markings, and then I'll do something kind of different. Where is it? Right here, I think. And I'll just put it right up in the front, like really obvious, so I could tell where I'm supposed to be coloring in. Sometimes I'll take this and kind of turn the opacity off if it's like a darker color, but it has to be in between that line where you can easily tell what this is and stuff. Here. New layer, yes, okay. I always do my markings on a new layer, so you can kind of, if it's too bright, it will be kind of difficult to tell where it is compared to when it's like got more color on it. So that's the only thing that you have to kind of balance and stuff. But, so now that we have that in, we're just going to go ahead and get the baseline in for this. And you can kind of choose a bigger brush size. It really won't matter that much. So when I come across this problem right here, you can see this outcropping of the fur, and then that's where it stops. Just color that in. I mean, it's not really a big deal. I mean, it's fur. Fur is meant to be just all this kind of craziness. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and quickly get this in. Usually I'll take my time with it, but I've noticed that sometimes it's easier to just erase things than it is to put things down. And I will take this and make it more compliant so you can kind of see better. So you can kind of tell if it's even or not, or if it looks okay. Okay, so sorry if I suddenly go quiet. I'm just thinking about stuff. I kind of let my mind wander every now and then. And really, it's not okay sometimes. I mean, one time, I walked into the kitchen where my parents were, and I just did like a complete circle, like 3 times in a row, just around the kitchen. Or just in a certain spot, and they're like, Kelsey, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know why I came out. And they just kind of look at me, and they're like, okay. And it was kind of funny, to be honest, but sometimes you just do things and don't even notice it. Like one time, I had, what was it? I had broken my ankle. This is the ankle I'm talking about that I utterly destroyed like about a couple years back. Anyway, I had broken my ankle, and I actually thought I had sprained it. So most of the time I was kind of out of it. Like I wasn't even paying attention to myself. I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna walk over here. And it was kind of funny because I went to the doctors, and they're like, yo, like your ankle is broken, all the muscle is dead, and you completely severed any kind of connection between the ligaments that hold your bone together. And I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know. And they're like, how did you even walk in here? And I'm just like, I don't know. I just kind of did. So I mean, there's just some things that I do that are funny. Like sometimes, you know, my mom will come and I'm still pretty much asleep, and she'll wake me up. We have these entire conversations, and I just completely forget them. And Mom's like, dude, how do you forget this stuff? I'm like, Mom, it's like 10 o'clock a.m. in the morning. I don't wake up until like 2 p.m. So it's kind of funny. Yeah. So right now I'm just kind of talking about stuff and I'm just on autopilot. So it's just kind of how things work. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll turn this off. I'll just see how it looks, and usually it looks pretty good, so I'll turn it back on and work on to the next one. Okay, so that area has to be filled in. Got it. Whee! Let's get that in there. Oh, I don't know if you can see that, but my screen's kind of freaking out right here. Why you do this to me, computer? Let's go ahead and get that in. So basically what you're doing is you're just going to rinse and repeat the same process. I'll come back to you when I finish that up. Alrighty guys, I have gotten all the coloring in, and except for the eyes. This is something that I do just a little bit differently. So what you're going to want to do is, once you got all that in, I usually work on the eyes next. So I'm just going to go ahead and deselect this entire area and come in on the Lineart layer. And I usually will use the magic wand tool, and I'll just go ahead, come in, and just select all the area that I'm going to want to color in there. And the person that owns Asher Witani, they do this a little bit different. They use the white on the ends. I go for a more wolf-like look, but just for her sake, I'll try it this time. So I'm going to create a whole new layer for this. So you're going to come in and you're going to color these edges up on what should be. And I'll just do a separate layer to show you what I usually do. I usually just paint it black, or a color that is borderline black, so you can kind of still see the dark colors on it. I'll have two options here that I'll show you guys. So I'm just going to get rid of that right for now. And you're going to come up here and deselect and just kind of repeat the process with the other parts of the eye, and I will use the same color for this here. So it kind of just is all the same pretty much, and it's just basically a couple things, and I'll have that be like the second option for that. So I'm going to get rid of that. And just depending on what you're using, really, you're going to come back here, you know, color that in so it kind of matches. And then after that, I'll come in again and just kind of select this out area. And you could just click that right there and it'll color it in, but sometimes it selects other parts that I don't want, so I'll just kind of do that just to be quicker, or just to make it look nicer. So I'll come in with a layer below this, or below them all actually, so it doesn't interfere with those colors, and I'll just go ahead and select the base color. Color that in. And I'm going to go ahead actually and bring that down to a 2, S2. It'll be easier sometimes. I'm going to come back in. And how I do my eyes is, I do everything pretty much on a separate layer. It's just easier to maintain sometimes. Hang on just a second. And I'm very particular with my eyes sometimes. I spend much more time on it than some other people do. It's just, I like to make it look a bit more nicer, a bit more realistic, and I'll come around these edges here very gently. And I'm very lenient when it comes to the exact colors. Like sometimes I'll come in and just take a darker color just to give it a bit more depth on the outer edges, just to kind of add in that factor. Like, you know, it's pretty realistic when it comes to that. And sometimes I'll come back in and I'll take, let's say, another, like, I'm not going to be using this airbrush or anymore. I'll take like a, sometimes I'll take that, hang on, I'm doing it on a separate layer, and I'll show you sometimes what I like to do with this. Alright, so let's make sure it's on a separate layer. Sometimes I'll take like a more powerful color just to kind of give it a bit more leeway, and I'll take a brighter color. I'll come in and just kind of do that with it. And very rarely I'll take this, the blur tool, and I'll kind of get it down a little bit, but not to the point where, hang on, but not to the point where it's entirely invisible. But yeah, I'll kind of do that sometimes. And usually when I have that, I don't actually prefer it to be that color. But sometimes I will have it be that color. Hang on. Nope. Give me a second. It should be that one. There we go. Like sometimes I'll have it look like that, and then I could come in with a white, preferably not borderline, but kind of in the middle. So if I wanted it to be transparent, you know, you could still tell. Like I'll have that, and then I might come back in. Hang on. We need a better one. But I'll kind of come back in like that. So it kind of looks more realistic when you do that. So usually once I have all that in, I'll go ahead and save it, and I'll change the background with Paint Tool Sci 2.0. You can't really, when you save it as a PNG file, you can't really make it in the thing to be background anymore by clicking a checkbox. Now you kind of have to go to Canvas, Background, Transparency. So it kind of looks like that, and I'll go ahead and save that now. So when you come look at it, it's bad. It's kind of that right now. Sorry, that's another thing I was working on. I haven't finished it yet. And that's really all I have for everyone today. Let me just go ahead and save that, because this I'm already pushing it to like the end here. So join me in next time for part 3 on how to shade these certain areas and add lighting like I do. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.